Good afternoon as always, Weiss fans. After like 2 months of waiting, it's finally time for me to begin my advanced tips and tricks tutorials. Today I'm going to teach you all about level advantage, what it is, what it means for you, and what you can do about it. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So unlike a lot of other advantages like stock advantage and field advantage and hand advantage, level advantage can't be measured simply by who has more and who has less. Level advantage is the culmination of resources you were able to gather before you hit the next level. Sound complicated? I promise it's not. It pretty much translates to when you level up, check how many cards are in your hand, your stock, and your field. And when your opponent levels, do the same for them. This is also called checking level advantage. The three resources we're trying to control are the fields, our hands, and our stock. Some people are also going to feel that I should be including climaxes in this as one of the resources you're trying to control. While I understand this point of view, you also have to understand that climaxes are something you should be actively controlling the entire game. They don't have anything to do with the level advantage, they have something to do with winning the game advantage. Our three resources also have a level of importance. Hand advantage is the most important type of advantage, because hand advantage means you have lots of options. Stock advantage is right under hand advantage, because you could have the best cards in the game, but if you don't have the stock to pay for them, then you have less options. Stock is a means of controlling how many options you have available to you during a turn. Field advantage is important, but it's not quite as important as the other two. Characters are incredibly expendable in the game of Weiss Schwarz. Having field advantage will very rarely be a deciding factor in how quickly you're going to win, but at the same time you have to remember that characters on the field come from your hand and most likely your stock. Since replacing characters costs both your hand and your stock later in the game, it's way more cost efficient to have characters already on the field that you don't have to replace. Every turn a character lives through is one more stock it gains and one less card from the hand that has to be spent replacing it. The sweet spot for leveling up is 4 in the hand, 4 in the stock, and 3 on the field. Don't be super obnoxious or anything, but when your opponent levels up, try to check these three areas and see how far above or below they are these numbers. Try to remember that level advantage isn't really about how many resources you can gain in one level. It's about how many you're going into the next level with. This seems like a pretty dumb mindset to have, but there are going to be a lot of instances in your duels where either you or your opponent will level up without having really gained anything during that level, but will have enough resources backed up to hit the sweet spot anyway. Oh, quick rule of thumb. Always assume you and your opponent will both be getting to level 3 during a single duel. This means don't get super reckless at level 2 and just assume that you're not going to be at level 3 and you're going to be able to finish the duel off at level 2. It also means don't stop counting how many advantages you have when you get to level 3. Being a level behind your opponent means you have 1 or 2 more turns to build your advantages up before you're forced to go to the next level. Being behind also means your opponent has set your next goal for you. For example, if your opponent goes from 0 to 1 and has 6 cards in hand, 5 cards in stock, and 2 cards on the field, you should aim to either hit those numbers or do better. If you're a level ahead of your opponent, you need to level them up as quickly as possible. This is the one game where you always want to be playing from behind. Don't forget to remember how much stock in hand you had when you leveled up. If at all possible, try to level them up before they can hit the numbers you did when you leveled up. If you and your opponent are both the same level, and your opponent seems to have all of the advantages, there's not a whole lot you can do about it, but there are a couple of tips I can give you to help you get through it. Firstly, try to make your opponent spend as many resources at their current level as possible. In other words, aim to destroy characters, not level them up again. If your opponent only has 1 or 2 characters in play, then don't fill up an entire field. Remember that hand advantage is much more valuable than field advantage. So only play as many characters and effects as you need to destroy those 1 or 2 characters. Your opponent should counter by filling their field and making sure that they get you to the next level as quickly as possible. If they do that after you've wiped their field, then it means you cost them 3 cards in their hand and probably some of their stock. Good job! You're probably going to be playing 1 level ahead, which you don't want to do, but at the same time you've gotten rid of some of their resources, so you're still in a better position. If your opponent's being super stubborn and matches your characters to play super defensively like you are, then just call his bluff. Keep playing defensively. One of you is eventually going to level up due to the character attacks. Regardless of which situation your opponent decides to counter with, never forget that what you're doing is counting their resources and trying to beat them. Because of the way climax canceling works, there's no real set-in-stone way that you can guarantee you're always going to have level advantage using your deck. But here are a couple of tips I can give you to help you increase your chances of being the one with level advantage. If you're in danger of having less than 4 cards in your hand very early in the game, then don't be afraid to take a couple for the team. Play a couple of cheap characters in the open slots and start swinging at them. If that's impossible, just get some side attacks off. Attack, get some stock, try to level your opponent up as quickly as possible. Remember, you don't need to destroy every one of your opponent's characters. Keep a healthy hand. Choose the right tool for the job and don't be wasteful. If all you're trying to do is poke at an open spot and you have a 0 and a 1 in your hand, just put the 0 down. They both swing for 1 soul. Just because the other one has more power doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get you better results. Weiss is a game about reactions, not actions. Don't play an important character unless you can guarantee they can do something important, like reverse another character. Do not forget to clock. Clocking may give you 1 damage, but it also increases our hand. What was our most important resource again? Oh yeah, maybe you should clock more. Lastly, know your deck. This seems like such a simple concept, but everybody seems to forget it. Different decks are powerful at different levels of the game. For example, Sword Art Online decks are normally really powerful at level 1. Knowing this, I need to build up during level 0 to make my level 1 plays more effective. Also, since level 1 is my time to shine, I need to make sure my level 1 plays are as crisp as possible. Well, what exactly does that mean? It means at level 1 I should expect my deck to perform better than it will at the other levels. At level 1 I need to keep my damage up and my resources strong. Find out what the shining level is for your deck type. That level and the level before it are the levels that you need to be paying the most attention to. Alright, I think that's about all the ramble I have in me today. If you have questions, comments, concerns, the comment box is right below this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to frontal attack that like button. And you can also change into a level 2 subscriber to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. Bye for now!